Hey, it's me. It's your boy. Back for another video. DE released a dev workshop for the one and the only Nezha. And it looks pretty good. It's also a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be. So, let's talk about that. I could kind of see it coming, but I didn't expect it to be this big. Because hopefully we've all seen the Nezha Deluxe skin that's coming that, in my opinion, looks mighty fine. And, you know, DE always releases a little rework when they release a new Deluxe skin. Or at least they usually do. And, you know, I was expecting a couple tweaks here and there, you know, some for his 1, some for his 3, you know, spice it up a little bit. But no, Pablo had to go and rework the whole thing. And I gotta say, I like it a lot. So let's get started. Let's talk about these changes. First of all, they increased his max health and they decreased his max shields. His max health is now 375 from 225, and his shields went down to 150 from 225. I think that's fine and dandy, because health is almost always more useful than shields are. Nextly, they changed Firewalker to now be duration-based, which hopefully will be a fairly long duration. And they said they wanted to do this so that his energy generation was no longer restricted just because of his 1, which ideally you want on all the time. And they also changed the animation a little bit to just be sort of a little hop. That way you can jump in and out of it really quickly, and it no longer restricts movement at all. Along the same vein, they have sped up the cast animation for Blazing Chakram, and that also no longer restricts movement. It was also changed so that now enemies hit by the disc are marked for a certain duration. While marked, they will take increased damage from all sources, and marked enemies have a chance to drop energy orbs. I wish I could tell you exactly what that means, but I don't quite understand it myself. I don't know if that means they drop energy orbs when they're hit by the disc initially, or if they drop energy orbs when they are killed while marked, or if they drop energy orbs just randomly whenever you damage them while marked, because it just doesn't specify. But regardless of how you get those energy orbs, that's great, because having more energy is never a problem. On top of that, whenever you kill a marked enemy, they have a chance to drop a health orb, and the healing pulse that they used to give off is now just completely gone. They decided that it was too hard to see and too small to really be useful, so they just replaced it. Additionally, they made it so that the disc will attempt to hit more targets while it's out, and the targeting for it has been improved slightly. And then, probably because everybody complained that his augment is how the ability should have been in the first place, they added a new charge throw that makes his disc fly straight out and straight back, and it deals a little bit extra damage, but it doesn't bounce off of people. That way you can use it strictly for teleporting straight forwards, not having to worry about it going random places that you didn't know about. And the last little quality of life change, which is very welcome in my opinion, is that teleporting with the disc will no longer cancel Firewalker. All in all, I think these changes are going to make Blazing Chakram very, very useful with new Nezha. And now we're going to move on to Warding Halo, which is the only ability that can really be considered nerfed at all with this rework. And I'll start with that because it's probably the most controversial thing, but they have reduced the damage block of Warding Halo to 90% instead of 100%. Although it retains its status blocking capabilities. They said they did this because with his new updated kit, he has a lot of ways of self-sustaining and removing damage from the fight with all of his different CC abilities. And they were saying it was just kind of overshadowing everything else, because why would you need to worry about stopping enemies or healing when you can just ignore everything? But what I really think is going on here is I think they're just nerfing his augment. Because it's okay when one guy can take no damage, but it's a bit of an issue when everything takes no damage. But even with these changes, it's still going to be really useful. And they said in the workshop, if you want to know how useful this is going to be, just look at Gara's Splinter Storm. And besides that, they just had a couple other small improvements, like making it so that the invulnerability period starts immediately when you cast the Warding Halo, instead of when the animation starts. And adding a multiplier to the absorbed damage that scales with power strength. And making it so that when the actual thing is depleted, it emits a small heat AoE that stuns enemies around you, so that you have time to cast another one. And they also made it so that instead of just having a little number on the ability icon down in the bottom corner, there's now going to be a new UI element that actually tells you how much health your shield actually has. And you know, honestly, all this, I don't think the 10% damage nerf that Warding Halo got is really going to change all that much. Yeah, maybe he'll die a little bit easier here and there, but making any Warframe less of a one-trick pony is always welcome in my book. And compared to the last two abilities, the changes to Divine Spears are minuscule. Following the trends from earlier, they have sped up the casting animation and the slamming animation, and they've removed the mandatory slam that always happened at the end of the duration, even if you didn't trigger it yourself. And they also added a neat synergy where if you hit a speared enemy with a blazing chakram, it creates a second one that goes out and hits another enemy. And they didn't specify whether or not that new one will bounce off of people, or if it just goes out and hits one guy and it's done. But hey, we'll find out eventually. And that finishes up all the changes to his abilities. But, just like when they reworked Saren, they said they're going to do a full sound remaster, and very importantly, they're going to add some new auditory cues for important moments, like when your blazing chakram returns, or when your Warding Halo is running out of health. That's something that I'm very happy about, and I wish very, very many more Warframes had. Overall, I'm very pleased with what I've seen so far. Like, basically, they're just taking Nezha and giving him more of his own identity and getting rid of his sort of discount Rhino feel. And very importantly, just like always, everything here is subject to change and probably will be changed a little bit before it actually comes out. But even if it didn't, I think it would be just fine. And I think that about wraps it all up. I really just wanted this to be sort of a news video, and I gave most of what I was going to say and opinions and everything throughout the video, so I'm just going to end it off here. If you have any thoughts or opinions, they asked for them in the dev workshop, and I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to voice them. But yeah, I'll see you next time. And I highly doubt it's going to be, you know, tomorrow or the next day, but hopefully still soon.
Use caution. I am picking up traces of prosecutor shield auras in your vicinity. Mission complete. The captive has been escorted.